Usually, when school began, there was a great bustle which could be heard out in the street. The opening and closing of desks, lessons repeated in unison, very loud with our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. So, Franz reflects that usually when school began, there used to be a lot of hustle and bustle, and there was the which could be heard out on the street, the opening of the desks and closing of them, lessons repeated in unison means together, and of course the teacher's voice loud and rapping, and the ruler rapping on the desk on the table could be heard from outside the school. But now it was all so straight. So Franz could understand the difference on that day, that day was very quiet out from the school. I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen, but of course that day everything had to be as quiet as Sunday morning. So he thought that he would count, that is, he would take the advantage of the noise and stealthily go inside the class and sit down. But that day was so quiet that it appeared that it was a Sunday morning in a school. So usually what happens on a Sunday morning, there no classes are there and school will always remains very quiet. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places, and M. Hamel walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. So on that day, what happened through the window? He could see all his classmates were in their places, and M. Hamel was walking up and down the class with the ruler low down his arm, and he opened the door and he blushed, means he was so embarrassed and frightened because he was late to enter the class. But what happens? Just the contrary happens, just the opposite happens. That next line you see, but nothing happened. M. Hamel saw me and said very kindly. So he is very afraid of his teacher M. Hamel, but on that particular day, M. Hamel, the teacher, was very kind with his words to Franz. Go to your place quickly, little Franz. We were beginning without you. So he welcomes Franz and he tells him to go and sit in his place. I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and a little black silk cap all embroidered that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. So what does Franz observe when he enters the class? That everything was different. M. Hamel was wearing his best clothes which he used to wear on inspection days and prize days. Prize days are annual function days, and inspection days when the school inspector used to come to visit the school. So what dress was the teacher wearing? It was very unlike the other days. The M. Hamel was wearing a beautiful green coat, a frilled shirt, and a little black silk cap which was embroidered. Besides, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn. So what he was observing, little Franz could observe that the whole school was very strange, very different and solemn. Solemn means very serious. All the students, the teacher, everyone was very serious. But the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty, the village people sitting quietly like ourselves. So the most astonishing thing which Franz saw, that on the back benches, the small school students, class students, his classmates were not there. But the other old people of the village were all sitting there. And who were they? Old Hossel with his three-cornered hat, the former mayor, the former postmaster, and several others besides. So all these people, all these old people were also attending that last class, last lesson. Everybody looked sad, and Hauser had brought an old primer, thumbed at the edges. So Hauser, who is an old man, old Hauser, what did he bring? He brought his old primer. Primer is an elementary book with, and book was thumbed at the edges. Means thumbed at the edges means it was all worn out with, because the book must have been very old. It was out of use, and old Hauser brought that old primer with him to the class. And he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages. And what did he do? He held it very seriously, opening the book with his spectacles on it. That is, he was serious to attend the class with all the matter, all the content in the book. While I was wondering about it all, M. Hamel mounted his chair, and in the same grave and gentle tone which he had used to me, said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you.